Hi all and welcome to another week of the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. A little later than normal. I've been trying to catch up on myself, which is not easy to do. Anyway, we'll have a good show tonight, and it's, August the 10th. The music tonight is symbolic. Listen. Hi all and welcome to another week of the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. Apologies for being a bit late. I think that's a first for me. Well, I needed to compose myself for 15 minutes. Information's coming in from all angles. And so I needed to just pause and breathe. Right. What have we got tonight? We got some intel. We've got some more explanations of what it can be, and a tribute to, or perhaps not a tribute, a rebuke to the war pigs. It won't be pleasant. Anyway, where do we start first? Well, we have the email for the show for people who want to send some questions in for the show that are not part of the Facebook or the MeWe page. And the email is truth.honour.and.integrity@gmail.com. The link for the show is www.spreaker.com/user/89558881. And we have an articles website that's been done quite brilliantly by one of our members, Michael, called thinkdifferent.thepeoplesclub.org. And I keep mentioning at certain portions of the show. Of course, we have a lot of new listeners, even more so recently, from all corners of the world. And so that they will have missed the narrative that most of the members have of the progression of the show and the information and how it all ties in. So the Think Different .thepeoplesclub.org has all the key shows, which was the Future of Humanity, the Shane show, not the podcast. So that's all on thinkdifferent.thepeoplesclub.org. We have a Facebook social media alternative on MeWe. If you send an email to the Truth, Honour and Integrity at Gmail with your own email, then we'll be able to add you to the MeWe group. There's a lot more people who seem to be getting sick of Facebook, myself included, because they just mess with the page until it's rendered useless, particularly of a Thursday, funny enough. And we have the People's Club website, where you can go and donate to thepeoplesclub.org. Some of it that goes towards the show, which is $50 a month, so that comes out of that, and the rest is being built up, hopefully for a brighter future. Where do we go next? First things first. You know how I like to get things correct, and unfortunately I don't get everything correct, and so I will hold my hand up because I made a bad error last week where I cited Mr. Alfred Weber as being part of Gaiam TV, which was incorrect. It was taken from an excerpt that Mr. Weber wrote that wasn't too clear, to be fair, and the way it was written suggested he was part of Gaiam TV. I'm happy to correct that and stand corrected, so apologies to Mr. Weber and for any of the listeners for misleading. So with that out of the way, we're going to go into some news. and then we're going to go into some fun and games. Right. The Campaign Legal Centre is complaining. Everyone appears to be complaining at the moment. In a letter to the White House, that top advisor to President Donald Trump may be illegally accepting outside professional services. Steve Bannon has worked with publicist Alexandra Preet since he was head of Breitbart News. A lot of people think that they're on our side. They're partly COINTELPRO, sorry to say. But Preet has continued to work with reporters on Bannon's behalf, even though she is not a government employee. No conflict of interest. A recent article by the Centre for Public Integrity quotes an associate of Preet saying that she doesn't receive any pay from Bannon, but the Campaign Legal Centre says that that appears to be a violation of what's called the Anti-Deficiency Act. The law says government employees may not accept voluntary services for the government or employ personal services exceeding that authorised by law. Except we all know politicians seem to think they're above the law, as things stand. Won't always be that way. The White House has said it's permissible for Bannon to seek personal representation for personal matters. Preet did not immediately comment, but in a letter to new White House Chief of Staff John Kelly, Attorney General Jeff Sessions and the Office of Government Ethics, the Campaign Legal Centre seeks an investigation of the situation and notes that violations of the Anti-Deficiency Act can be punished with fines and or prison time. So there's a lot of that type of stuff ongoing at the moment, where they're all throwing each other under the bus. They're all corrupt. There's no right from the top down. But there's different levels, as we all know. And as they continue to throw each other under the bus, we will get more and more disclosure. Eventually we may reach a point where we have to act on that disclosure. Time will tell. Now, I don't know, I didn't see the post on the page. I was kind of surprised, but Mr. Trump has done something rather good. He is officially telling the United Nations that America intends to pull out of the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement permanently. Oops. And the State Department made the announcement last Friday afternoon. It still doesn't formally start the process of America getting out of the voluntary agreement. That is still to come. The department describes its communication as a strong message to the world. The director of US climate diplomacy during the Clinton and George Bush administrations, Nigel Purvis, said countries can't withdraw from new international agreements, including the Paris climate one. Wrong, Mr. Purvis, because the group that made that agreement were not sovereign and so unable to carry it out. Period. We're not signing over more of the people's resources and funds to some other new world order. So he's saying that until 3 years after it goes into effect, the Paris Agreement, according to Mr. Purvis, went into effect on November the 4th, 2016. That is a total lie. The Paris Agreement does not go into effect until 2020. Stop playing with the 4-year loops, because we're watching it. So then he went on to say, then the process takes a year, and the State Department says it can officially start withdrawing as soon as November 2019. In other words, before it goes into effect, because it's not in effect now. despite what they're trying to get across, more lies and bullshittery. What goes around comes around. Remember the big farmer guy who decided it was fun to price gouge and bump up all kinds of drugs last year? Well, Martin Shkreli, the eccentric former pharmaceutical CEO, notorious for a price gouging scandal and for his snide farmer bro persona on social media, was convicted last Friday on federal charges that he deceived investors in a pair of failed hedge funds. So he didn't just rape from the public, he seems to have his finger in many pies. Anyway, a Brooklyn jury deliberated for 5 days before finding Shkreli, whatever it says anyway, you know who he is. All these foreign names. He was found guilty on 3 of the 8 counts, and he's been charged with security fraud, a conspiracy to commit securities fraud, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Prosecutors have accused him of repeatedly misleading investors about what he's doing with their money. Mostly he was blowing it with horrible stock picks, forcing him to cook up a scheme to recover millions in losses, they said. Being found out, because when you operate those Ponzi schemes, you always need something else to overlay to cover what's missing below, and each layer pays the previous layer. But you took the original chunk of money, did what you did with it, and hope that they can make the money up by some interest scam. But if all those interests and platforms start collapsing, then the Ponzi scheme goes with it. And this is why so many of these are now being caught, because they can't keep adding the next layer to the structure of the Ponzi scheme. It's like an upside down pyramid, where you have person 1 on row 1 who comes in and gives you $1,000 to invest. The crook keeps the $1,000, and then row 2, numbers 2 and 3, pay him $1,000, and the $1,000 pays 1, but he's still collected. And then it goes on row 3, row 4, and it keeps filtering down. Eventually you have to have an outside injection to replace the missing rows. Well, while they were raping the trust account, they could keep bailing themselves out when it got to a certain point, or immersing themselves in another scheme or scam, except they're being exposed now. So this is why you're seeing more of this type of issue. And here's another clown. Mr. Nutty Arsehole has been named. We did tell you we were coming for you, Mr. Netanyahu. Has been named as a suspect in 2 investigations into allegations of fraud, breach of trust and bribes, with his former chief of staff signing a deal with prosecutors to testify against him. I loved it when when they start telling tales on each other. You'd be surprised how they sing the minute they get caught. Anyway, the move marks the most serious political crisis for the Zionist leader. He's not the leader of Israel. He never was. He's a Zionist leader. Nothing to do with the people. The only prime minister to rival founding father David Ben-Gurion for longevity in office. Yeah. The suspicions, it's not suspicions I might add, but against Netanyahu, who denies any wrongdoing, were first revealed in a court application by detectives last Thursday seeking a gag order on reporting details of negotiations with Ari Harrow, the former chief of staff, to become a state witness. I don't know whether, before I carry on with this kind of rings a bell, where we mentioned something to do with Netanyahu. Was it about 6 to 8 weeks ago, where he was trying to shut down radio stations and all kinds of other stuff? Now you know why. So, talks were concluded last Friday with Harrow, his former chief of staff, signing a deal in which he agreed to testify against Mr. Netanyahu. And according to a statement from the Israeli police, Harrow is expected to receive 6 months of community service and a fine of $193,000 on a separate breach of trust charges, rather than a prison sentence. If we convicted all of them and locked them all up, we would then spend many years trying to investigating what they did wrong, where this went, where that went, what they did to this country and that country and those people and that people. They've been given an opportunity to work out a plea bargain. Some of the higher elements, that will not apply. Some of the, well, not some, all of the pedo people, that will not apply. But the financial fraud, and they've all been involved in it, all of them don't have a clue what they're doing, largely. They're kind of coerced into going along with it, whether they like it or they don't. I'm not in any way having sympathy with them, because there's always the choice right and wrong. But these people are in environments where they have no choice. Look at Katy Perry. The meltdown as expected, like Britney Spears before her. They have no choice. Like the two Coreys. No, not Fatboy, Corey Good. The two Coreys, fiddled with by Hollywood elites. They had no choice. So, doing deals like this to obtain the bigger fish should be the way forward, as I see it. You know, if you get the lower level people to sing and literally hang, figuratively, though some will argue not, the likes of the Clintons or the Bushes, then surely that's far better. Some may not agree with it, but it's just an opinion. And this is the latest dramatic twists in a series of long-running investigations into Netanyahu, his family and close circle have led some commentators in the Israeli media to suggest that an indictment may now be inevitable. Yes, please, and please lock him away. Guantanamo's a nice place to visit for him. He'd look well in an orange suit. Right. It appears the show's being messed around with again. No change there. Ah, well. The Clintons. The dying and the dead. Fundraising activities have long been raising justified concerns. That's mildly to put it bluntly. However, foreign investigations into Clinton's foundation activities are moving too slowly, apparently, and the probes could generate embarrassment and even legal exposures for foreign governments that are also involved in it. Oops. And this is according to Charles Ortel, who was speaking to Sputnik News this week. Hillary Clinton goes on with her effort named Onward Together, really, aimed at funding and supporting a coalition of democratic groups opposing Donald Trump's policies, really. And Mr. Ortel, a Wall Street analyst who exposed financial fraud at General Electric back in 2007, is proceeding with his private investigation into the alleged fraud of the Clinton Foundation. The analyst shed light on the Clinton's largest endeavour called CHI, the Clinton Health Access Initiative. Yeah, right. Where is the Health Access Initiative for the Haitians? Well, you sat there with $19.5 billion of money donated for them and spent none of it. Health Access Initiative, indeed. Anyway, highlighting that the endeavour has never been organised lawfully at any time. So you just come up with these pie-in-the-sky foundations and pie-in-the-sky initiatives and pie-in-the-sky programs, and you get loads of mugs to donate to them on the promise that something's going to improve. But all it's doing is creating tyranny. So this is another where they've collected from funds like in to his daughter's latest foundation. No, that 50 million belongs to the people. We're suffering, we're struggling. Invest in the country. Either way, it seems that numerous foreign governments seem to be associated with Clinton's charities, in inverted commas, have behaved deplorably, and it lists a large number of purported foreign government donors, including Australia, Ireland, Great Britain, Sweden, Canada, France, Denmark, Norway, and the Dominican Republic. So the question is, why then have foreign governments sponsoring UNITAID and CHAI not raised an alarm over the alleged financial fraud? As a guess, the massive and ongoing support provided by UNITAID starting in November 2006 to illegally organised and operated Clinton charities is impossible to explain without generating acute embarrassment and even legal exposures for the individuals and the foreign governments involved, Mr. Ortel stressed. Apparently, therefore, according to the analyst, foreign investigations into the Clinton Foundation's activities and cooperation with UNITAID are moving too slowly. Yes, doesn't it always, when you're investigating the elites, everything moves way too slow. There's too many protecting, that's why. I think there's a hint of irony, and for those that can read between the lines to this next story. President Donald Trump has thanked the Russian President Vladimir Putin for ordering the departure of 755 staff from US diplomatic missions in Russia. Speaking to reporters in New Jersey, he said he wanted to thank the Russian leader for saving the United States money. Worked it out, yeah? At the end of July, President Putin said 750 staff would have to leave US diplomatic missions in Russia in retaliation for new US sanctions against Moscow. Many employees we are led to believe are local hires, meaning it's far more likely that less than the 755 people will actually leave the country. He said they had to leave by September the 1st, bringing staff levels to 455, the same as Russia's complement in Washington. So there's hopefully some money saved. We may have more on that in the second hour. Where am I next? Shall I go into that now? Let's go into a bit of intel before. There'll be more in the second hour, but it's going to be wrapped in a fairly hard-hitting, lengthy op-ed piece. But the meeting that took place today, and there's meetings going on, multiple meetings going on every day, because they have to come and speak to the Kingdom of Mana people, stroke the Foundation people, because they have no option. We control the trust account. They don't have access. They are sinking, and in essence so are we. They're sinking fast. And they think they can pull all kinds of stunts and still think it's going to work, despite failing. Well, the RV alone, this must be about 1,020 now. "25 years of 2 weeks." Work it out. So, the meeting today was from people or governments, heads of state in the Middle East, because they are kind of concerned, and they may well be concerned with what's being planned. Those countries in the Middle East all want peace, all of them, apart from one, no doubt, fairly obvious. And apparently the US faction has been making deals with certain Middle Eastern leaders, telling them to make trade deals. Why do we have a government? What is Congress doing? Who are these people acting on our behalf, making deals? And why are we allowing it? So they've been telling them to make trade deals, and the money would come. Yeah, right. Well, lo and behold, 1021, the money didn't come, and the RV failed again on Wednesday. And so now the people in the Middle East are being left in a rather tough spot, because they've done all these deals at the behest of the US faction. And they're stuffed. And unfortunately it's causing a lot of tension in the Middle East. Dangerous tension. And they're terrified that World War III will start in Syria. Personally, I don't think it will. But the faction here in this country are ramping it up, because they're losing ground rapidly. I've warned about their million-man army and wiping the whole of the Middle East out previously. And but these clowns think that somehow the whole of the Middle East will be wiped out and they'll be the only winners. Again, another example of their insanity. And then in the next thing out their mouth is they want peace. And this is all going on in the meeting. These are supposed to be representatives of our country. We want peace, but we want to destroy that whole portion of the world. McFly, anybody home? So we shall see how things work out on that. North Korea is a distraction from what's going on in the Middle East, in my opinion. Yet again, more rhetoric of there's the boogeyman, there's somebody coming to get us. North Korea now. Another one filed thousands of miles away. I hope the awake community starts to see through it. Russia's coming to get us. China's coming to get us. The Muslims are coming to get us. But nobody came, did they? How many more times are we going to fall that some country on the other side of the world is coming to get us before we realise it's all bullshit? While you focus on North Korea, we'll try and smash the Middle East into smithereens. That's what they're up to. And now, didn't put that. So the Syrian issue will rear its head again, and it needs to be dealt with. There's fun and games over there with darker entities, the jinn, that need to be dealt with, and they will. So much work will go on, and we will figure out a way to solve the Syrian conflict before we end up with a rather nasty exchange, because it's all building up. Me personally, I think at the last hour it will all be rendered mute. I've said this all along. There will be no World War III. Personally, I see less chance of it now than there was 1, 2, 3 or 4 years ago. Right, we're going to go into another music break, and then we're going to go into some more of the intel that's wrapped in peace. And the first song goes out to someone who's quite popular in America, who sadly died this week, Glenn Campbell. And so this is one of his songs. And the second song will lead us into the second hour. Hi all, and welcome to the second hour. Here we go. We probably may get cut off halfway through this, we'll see. But it needs to be said, because the American public are still being lied to on a massive scale. Something that was mentioned last week I'm going to repeat again, because it's important to get the background of what's going on before I go into the piece. But that last song said it all. War pigs. Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death's construction. Because basically that's what we're dealing with. Black magic and death from the war pigs. Generals. The second verse says it all also. Politicians hide themselves away. They only started the war. Why should they go out to fight? They leave that role for the poor. And you wonder why they shut the heavy rock movement down. It's not just that song. There was a whole heap of other songs that the heavy rock groups of the late 60s and early 70s were all telling you. Kashmir was telling you about the ETs and where it was. Pink Floyd was telling you about the education system and the bullshittery that teaches nothing. Death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. It's telling you, it told you. That song's nearly 50 years old now. And something I mentioned on the Eric Lewis show, soldiers, was again, it's important to understand the meaning. Soul, as in son, dies. Sacrificial lambs to the slaughter for their bogus solar god. For those of you who haven't watched The Gods of Egypt, go and watch it. There's some elements of truth in there, but there's a lot of misdirection. But you'll get the gist of what took place here in the past. So in 1921, the now corporate Congress abdicated its duty to control the money and turned it over to the Holy See's Federal Reserve System to be the fiscal agent of the United States Treasury. Remember that term, which promptly ceased to exist in 1924, taking vast amounts of American wealth with it. In other words, they just looted the whole country. And you wonder why we had a recession. But that didn't stop the Holy See and the Crown agents from pretending that the United States Treasury still exists or existed. So what they did, they just renamed their own shill companies after it. It went from United States Treasury to the United States Treasury, the Treasury of the United States, the United States Treasury Department, the US Treasury, and the Department of Treasury. That's where our money went. The reason I've said that now is then you'll understand further forward why I mentioned it. So, we did a show recently about sovereignty, which Kingdom of Manor have obtained in full for all the world to know. Against all the odds, they didn't think that that team could do it. But their underestimation of those people who carried it out was to their detriment. There'll be no more foreign bases. How many? 900 bases? Could be more. On foreign soils. Imagine the money saved on that. There will be no more mercenary groups like Blackwater and Z and whatever else they're called, ISIS, ISIL, Al-Qaeda, etc, etc, etc. Imagine the money we save on that. There will be no more foreign banks, Federal Reserve, or tax collecting for foreign invaders, the IRS. Both are foreign to this country and not part of America or its sovereignty, and would have to go. Imagine the savings we make on that, where they're not looting the people's money illegally. There will be no more double companies with similar names, like the Treasury. There will be no more resources stealing, reduction of, or ending dual agencies. Why would we need Homeland Security, CIA and FBI? Because we wouldn't. Imagine the money saved on that. Where vast quantities of funds are being used for surveillance of the American people they're supposed to be representing. It would also end the collection agency on behalf of the Crown, known as the US court system. Because with sovereignty, we return to natural law. So there'll be no more maritime law. That's what American sovereignty will do for us. Now, you know who's holding all this up from progressing? The war pigs. Generals gathered in their masses. Those in the high offices in America with their badges of dishonour, stuck in an old paradigm with a mindset of destruction, greed and insanity. These are the people that are holding it up. These are the people that sent morons to the meetings with their high level stupidity. So to these people, and you know who you are, there's an opportunity in this lifetime of yours to redeem your insanity. But you need to learn another word that appears to not pervade your illusory corridors of power. It's called flexibility. A flexibility to see a vision of the future, a real future, we only recently acquired. Yes, we know. But you people continue to remain in the illusion with your fistful of dollars, fistfuls of dinars, promises of higher dimensional money coming in to save you. Really. Revaluation promises, or regurgitated vomit, more like it, since you've been pulling that stunt for the last 25 years. Chinese elders' promises, even though they told you they couldn't fund it months ago. They haven't got the resources. They haven't got the assets. None of them have. The world knows, except you. The Rothschild promises, all of which have been replayed over and over, like a sick and twisted Groundhog Day movie. And what's funny is, it all failed. Repeatedly. And yet you still continue to swing your old paradigm dicks, whilst the people suffer and struggle. In what? Some banal attempt to finally get one plan right? Well, we've got news for you. It won't come right. Period. That paradigm you hold on to no longer exists. It's gone. The overlay of the planet is gone. Now I understand you were under orders and following orders of the person you know as M. All of you. And all of the so-called previous presidents of this country. All of them. Promised titles, riches, but that never worked out too much either, did it? Mr. Kissinger basically told you, the generals, the so-called top brass, what they all think of you. Expendable slaves, the word he used, that do their dirty work unbidden and in turn reward you with badges, titles and entitlements. But what you don't have is common decency, heart, compassion, truth, honour or integrity. You just sit back in your fancy offices and remain in your cesspool swamp like nothing's changed. But it's all changed, hasn't it? We know it. We know which way it's going. And yet through your own mindless, crass stupidity, you roll on like yesterday never happened. Well, it did. The control system you continue to prop up has collapsed in on itself like a giant sinkhole. Maybe that's the swamp Mr. Trump spoke of. All of the clowns have been offered deals to move forward. All of them. The top end ones all refused. My theory is they're terrified of the people lynching them when they find out for real what they've all done. Understandable, but not overcomable. Can we not create a directive of a blank slate? Except the pedophilia people and the ritual sacrifice people. People in inverted commas, I might add. And the ones who created the mess can then start to fix it. A blank slate. New way for a new earth. The old one's gone. Now, the reason for this piece is the top brass military blocking us moving forward. Is they wish to control the trusted money supply. But to the military top brass, like you were told this week, we don't tell you how to run the military. Although one could argue we need to, given your gross incompetence. So how can you want or need to tell us how to run economics? Your role is to look after the American people, not foreign agents. Your role is to defend the American people, not to get involved in economics. The reason why? Because what about the military's form of economics, or lack thereof, that has looted trillions of American people's money on a vast scale that literally defies belief? And yet you wish to run the new system? Seriously? Now, whilst many may be seriously undereducated in this country, but rest assured, we're not all retards. Trillions and trillions just went missing under your guise, and you want to look after the trust account for the American people? I don't think so. So you have a sole choice to make, Generals et al. Do you continue with your stupidity and awful legacy, or will you do the first honourable thing in your life and step up and do what you're supposed to do in this country and defend the people? Not attack defenceless boogeymen like some fat-ass bully in the playground. Defend the American people. We have been raped, plundered, pillaged, had our health, education, homes, lifestyles and our dignity in light of how the rest of the world now views us destroyed, all down to your direction, all under your watch. You have failed us repeatedly since Bretton Woods, invaded 91 countries for no apparent reason other than to serve the elites. destroyed and pillaged countries all around the world. What for? To protect American freedoms? My arse it is. You're not deluding anyone anymore. We know. So it's time that you get out of the butt cracks of the elites and do something for the benefit of this country and its people. You know, the same people who pay your salaries. And it's time you quit with your half-witted plans that have all failed and will continue to do so. The message to you is, if you wish to continue being the pet poodles for the Crown, Rothschilds, Chinese elders or the Vatican, fine. Just go and live in another country where your treasonous and traitorous behaviour is more suitable. But it doesn't belong here. And leave us, genuine Americans, to get on with rebuilding our lives and this country. If not, then it's time you all deliver for and by the people. End all wars. Withdraw from NATO. Withdraw all our sacrificial sons and daughters back to American shores. End all bases on foreign soils. End all spy programs in this country and others. We know by now no one's coming to get us. It's all an illusion. And all of you got played big time. It's time you suck it up and do something decent. Your judgment day is upon you. Time is short. Legacy of death and destruction, or a legacy of rebuild. The people of America and the rest of the planet need you to stand up once and for all in your life. You can have all your titles, but the only title you need to remember is in this song. So it's up to you, the generals. It's all laid out. You have an obligation to the people of this country. A chance to make amends, and boy do you need to make amends. This country has been sold down the river and its people for far too long. Far too much of our dollars has gone into death and destruction at your hands. You should do the honourable thing. Come to a proper, flexible agreement where we can both move forward. You have lots of work to do. All branches of the military have lots of cleaning up to do. Get my messages again. The Air Force can be cleaning up the skies. The Navy needs to clean up the oceans of all the toxic waste you've been dumping. The Army can clear up the lands they've destroyed with funds out of the trust. And the overall military needs to stop using American people's sons and daughters as sacrificial lambs in an overarching war of the gods. Those gods are gone. The overarching one left 2 years ago. And yeah, you still pay homage. It's time to pay homage to the people. We're the ones that have retained this planet for the future. We're the ones that's tasked with fixing things so that things are done in a better way. Not the old way, like the Draco. War, aggression, greed, envy, all the worst aspects. But a new way that's fair, transparent, where people are allowed to flourish and grow and not be eaten and harvested. It's your responsibility, the world military, to protect the people from interference outside. Not steal the people's wealth. By invading virtually every country on the planet and scooping up everything, so no one has anything left. I seriously don't know how you sleep at night. Any of you. You just appear to have a wanton disregard for basic human life. But there's an olive branch from the kingdom of Mana people. Take it. It's up to you to correct your damaged and deteriorating legacy and do what's right for and by the American people, and subsequently stop interfering in the other countries' lives also, be it elections via Langley or be it invasions via the US Inc. military. All these invasions for foreign agents, what benefits has the people got from that? None whatsoever. Americans were held in high esteem 30, 40 years ago. Now we're like pariahs on the planet because of the military direction. You did nothing after 9/11 when it was fairly obvious who the perpetrators were and are. You sat there. Do something decent in your life for once. Right, we're going to go into some questions now, I think. This is from Holland, or as it's now called, Netherlands, but I'm going to stick with the original version because I don't like it when countries change names. It generally has a sinister purpose behind it. Think of all the other countries that have changed the name. Rhodesia, the people of the Netherlands have had it rough also, like Britain with its bogus royals. Same system. Spain and Portugal were included in that. So one of the people from Holland sent me an email. The formation of the government of Holland is in its 20th week now, and it used to be quite a spectacle. Now it takes ages, but it stays very quiet around it, which is rather strange. Do you have any info on whether it might have something to do with the offer from the Kingdom of Manor, or perhaps a battle behind the scenes, or that they are waiting for something else, an act of Trump, or war with Russia, or the Rothschilds, or something? Well, Holland is part of the old royal system, Germanic. They are a Germanic race. I know people of Holland don't like being linked with Germany, but that's the sad fact. Not all the people in Germany are bad, it's just a selective few of SS people destroyed all the dignity of the German people. Isn't it funny, it's the same SS in paperclip came to America and have destroyed our reputation also. Same people, same policies. So they were part of the 6 kings, known as the Vikings, along with Sweden, Finland, Norway. The houses, House of Bavaria, House of Orange, which is why all things Dutch are orange. And the William of Orange played a big role in British history and Irish as well, because the British paid William of Orange to destroy the Irish people and its history. Battle of the Boyne, and the upshot of that was then William of Orange was appointed King of England for destroying the Irish. So they're all linked in a way. Of course, the countries up north, Sweden, Norway, Finland, and likely Holland, are all being used as a NATO base currently. I know Norway is for definite, but the other countries are also involved. Whether Holland is one of the 144 countries seeking sovereignty or thinking over sovereignty at the moment, I don't know which countries are involved in that as yet. I may get a list one day. So it could have something to do with that. I would think, given the royal issue in Holland, it's debatable. And they're kind of been squeezed with the other Scandinavian countries because of the NATO plans, who are pushing for war with Russia. because the Rothschilds are also sitting on assets in Norway. So it's a case of wait and see with what goes on in Holland. Norway is more of an issue though. Thomas, would you please share how you made peace with what you found in your shadow self? All I feel is shame at what I find. Well, it wasn't easy. It's not. The truth of the self is probably the hardest truth you'll have to face. And this is why we talk about the shadow sides and doing your inner work. Was I proud of myself and my behaviour as a teenager? Not really. Was the extenuating circumstances surrounding her? Yes, but not all. So eventually you have to look at the fact, well, these things keep happening to me, and I can't carry on blaming parents or teachers or the police for that matter, who are pulling me up in the car every couple of weeks. No idea why, but it was what it was. And then suddenly at age 21, I had an experience that I still can't explain, of missing time. I saw the craft before and after. What I don't know is what took place in between. And it kind of realigned me away from the frustration and the anger of rejection by parents. Almost made the black sheep of the family. Like I said, I wasn't an angel by any means, but if you continue to cage a free spirit, they will react accordingly once that cage is open. We're not all the same. We're not all made to follow orders and just go along with the system. Some of us came in and knew this was wrong. At age 7, I knew something was not right here. I couldn't formulate the words, I couldn't understand it. And as I got older, things that were happening to me were not happening to anybody else, and I found it really odd. And it was a case of going within. So for probably the best part of 15-20 years, I went within. If I was out in a group, I wouldn't speak. I just listened. And by doing that, you then get an understanding of how far you can go with certain people. Out of 1,000 children in school, I was the only one who believed in ETs. This was 1970-72. It's a lonely world. So when in company, every now and again you would find a gem where you just had that resonance with. You might never met them before, and you might never meet them again, but these people just turn up in group settings, and suddenly you feel a resonance with them that you can say everything. But they were rare, and so I had to look at myself. And then I had a series of misfortunes where hospitals were making a mess of my vessel. in more ways than one, and I've raft 15 operations in 16 years. And again, it's all designed, when I look back at it now, to drag me down. But I used to laugh in the face and stand up and go, you'll have to do better than that. You know? And so it was a self-challenge. And then I took a big leap of faith where I felt I had to grow, and there would be a purpose and a reason for leaving where I was born, and came to America in 2002. I've still got no idea how I got into the country, because I never had sufficient funds to do so, as there's no immigration between America and Britain either way. But we managed to collect some funds to buy a business, and I think it was meant to be. I said to the people I left, there'll be a reason why I'm going to America. I don't know it yet, but there will be a valid reason. And I personally wish I was born here and not Britain, but Britain gave me a good grounding, largely how not to be. You always learn from the lessons, or you should do. And so I had this period of quiet, and then I came to America, and it kind of coincided with the growth of the internet, and you can meet people all over the world who have similar, what is now classed as normal, but then it was off the wall belief system of ETs, and that the governments weren't looking after the people, and they had all these elite families and royals that were creaming off the system and using the people as slaves. All this 20, 30, 40 years ago was completely off the wall. But as an observer and a listener, you then are able to see things better, hear things better. I didn't get involved in the midst, and this is what I'm trying to tell people on the show. Don't get involved in the midst of it. Step back out. You can see all the players then. All the idiots on the Facebook page who think they're hiding in secret, playing agents games. We know who you are. Because you can see better. And so I had to deal with my side of what I faced, which wasn't a pleasant childhood. It wasn't a loving childhood. And deal with that, and forgive and move on. And eventually you get to a point of personal growth where things come to you rather than you searching for it. I think that's more to do with the going up the evolutionary planes, earth planes. But the essence of it is they couldn't hook me into the system, and so that's largely made me stay outside of it. They couldn't hook me in with drugs, because I've never taken drugs in any form. They couldn't hook me in with alcohol, because I've hardly drunk since I was 21. They couldn't hook me in with religion, sexuality issues, couldn't hook me in with that. So I stayed away from the hooks. I appeared to be uncontrollable the parents will agree with that. I never liked authority from day one. And this is the problem now with the ADHD kids. Because I would have been classed ADHD if they'd have thought of it in that timeline. But good luck with getting me to take those tablets, because that's another thing I don't do either. I don't take pharmaceuticals. If I have an issue, I correct it myself, because I believe in myself. Most people don't. And this is what I'm trying to get across in the shows. Too much of everything is outside of you, when everything you need is already inside. So it's a long road. I've had everything thrown at me in my lifetime to date, and I've stood up with a straight bat and just knocked it right back at them and rose above it. But you can't do that unless you've dealt with your past. So each time I was challenged, I came out of it stronger. Where they tried to drag me down, I came up and out of it stronger. But you've got to have an inner belief, and too many don't have that inner belief. They have the mask of illusion, and we've all used them, myself included. But the other key aspect of it is I've always been balanced in all the different formats. I don't play into fear. I don't get angry, or very rarely, because it's illusion. It's all about staying on that 45-55 metronome. So if you're not swinging too much on the metronome, you don't have that much to stop it from being close to the centre. So all that loosh didn't work on me, because if he tried to get me angry, I'd laugh in the face. You know, you all know by the show, I can throw a lot of humour in, and it drives some people insane or unsane. How can you laugh when all this is going on? Because it's funny, and I'm not allowing them to drag me down. That's what they want. They want you swinging from side to side. Happy depression, happy depression. Treat everything the same or similar, then you can't go far wrong. But to answer the question, you're not there to feel shame. You're there to learn a lesson. Have you learnt the lesson? Then why have you got shame? We've all made and done wrong things in our lives that we're not particularly proud of. We could have done something, handled this a better way, or done that a better way. Or I shouldn't have done this and I shouldn't have done that. But it's, did you learn from it? And did you not only learn from it, but go on and improve it and make it so it wouldn't happen again? If you have, then there's no need to feel shame for any of your past. None whatsoever. Being too hard on yourself. At the end of the day, The only judgment is your own. What other people think. And there's no pearly gates and people sitting on clouds passing judgment. It's bullshit. Just you. So don't be hard on yourself. If you've corrected it already, let it go. We don't like certain aspects of the self, and the reality is all the negative aspects are all going to flow out of all of you that listen to this show. Now is the time. It is the judgment. Just your judgment, nobody else's. It's nobody else's business. So there's aspects that you admire in people. Don't be envious with that people and drag them down to your level. Aspire to be like that person. I used to do that when I was younger. It's part of the culture. And when I grew up, drag people down to your level rather than you aspiring to reach the point of your envy. And eventually what we're trying to achieve on this planet is we all aspire to be better. No, let's dog eat dog world, divide and conquer. No, let's inspire each and every one of us to be the best we can be. Everyone's got different abilities. Everyone plays a role. Just because someone may look more important doesn't mean they are. So it was a bit long-winded, but I hope that answered your question. It's a case of forgiving yourself, forgiving those who may have harmed you, no matter what they did, and releasing it out of the vessel. Push it out, physically get hold of it. You will feel it wherever that comes up. It might be in the heart, it might be in the throat, it might be in the head. Bundle it and throw it out. Then you have a chance to absorb the better frequencies. Because if you're overloaded with negative, carrying baggage around, what use is that to you? All that heaviness. When people are in a more pleasant mode and happy, they feel lighter. There's a reason for that, because it is. But if you're sad and depressed, you feel like a 15-ton truck. How do you expect the soul to carry that round? Day in, day out. Woe is me. I can't deal with this, I can't deal with that. Well, what you're saying is not that you can't, it's that you won't deal with it. If you want to keep carrying on, pulling that 15-ton truck around, that's your choice. It's your judgment at the end of the day. It's your being. But if you don't, look to the self. You don't need therapists and psychologists and all them people who have got more issues than you. Trust me. I've seen them. Clowns. You don't learn that sort of profession out of a book. Never did. just you. In general, what are your thoughts and feelings about the up and coming sun eclipse? Captain Obvious will be waiting to listen to this answer. It could be interesting on many aspects. The alignment. I've yet to have it confirmed, but apparently the last time we had a solar eclipse that went right across America in that way was 1776. But like I said, I haven't had that confirmed yet. I'll have to check that up. Now, could it not be? Of course, 1776 was the illusion. Maybe this time we'll do the real one on the real planet. So it's we may see things that we didn't think we would see. They're all possibilities. Things that were cloaked may come into view. It will signal some sort of change. To what level remains to be seen. I can only speculate, and I don't particularly like speculating. If I have something more confirming, then I will say so. Do you think there's a risk involving attacks regarding posting baby pics or children in here or on Facebook in general? Not really. It's a personal choice at the end of the day. It would make a nice change for me than all the stupid cat pictures that people have been programmed with. So THI wants to see your baby pics. Would I post it open on the Facebook? Maybe not. But THI is a closed group. I'm sure if you ask the members not to share, then they will honour that. But I'm sure all the members of CHI are looking forward to seeing your new baby, John, when it arrives. Right, let's have some music. I still haven't. Now, I'm going to play these two songs. They do mean something, and we'll see. Hi all, and welcome back to the final portion of tonight's show. I've kind of pondered on whether to put the next piece out, what I'm going to say. But many people are feeling heavy-hearted. There's a reason for that, or I think there's a valid reason. A week last Sunday, I had a vision that was crystal clear. I've had a number of similar visions recently, and so when I put the Two Worlds Drift Apart song, that is what I saw. The Chainbreaker and the first songs I played also played into that. Break on through to the other side, and Judgment Day. Now, what I saw in this vision was the old earth, which is connected to the new one, and the chains broke. This was recent. Now, the earth that I used to see is no longer visible. Not the original one, the construct. The chains were broken. So when I'm explaining to the generals of old paradigm and new paradigm, now you understand the full implications of that. What I witnessed was the earth disappearing into a Mobius portal, the old earth. Now, people will say, that's great, it's gone. But we were all attached to it. So that's where the heaviness and the sadness comes in. But the two worlds theory that I put forward last year, and living simultaneously, was real. An overlay. So when I saw this, to be quite honest, for 48 hours it rocked me to the core. It's like everything that's new, you're worried about what the changes are going to be. Is this a current event? Is it a past? Or is it the near future? That I can't tell. But the ones that were on the overlay holographic frequency will go with the old earth. The living souls will remain on the new earth. In the Levashov stuff, we talked about space-time and how things had to, certain regions of space were conducive to life growth and certain regions wasn't. So there has to be almost a dip in the wave for the solar system or the planets to sit in that's harmonious to life and growth. But with the overlay, they gave the illusion of life and growth, the holographic illusion, the holographic construct that basically humanity has been trapped in for 78,000 years. It still feels heavy. And I still thought long and hard whether to be cryptic so people see it themselves. Because it's more important that people see it for themselves than to put their blind faith and belief in somebody else. Again, this plays into the movie The Gods of Egypt. If you read some of Chloe's documents, it explains that Gods of Egypt rather well. Where people had all kinds of abilities. The gods. Set was dealt with 2 years ago. In the movie, it portrays Ra as the saviour, but again, that's the illusion. Ra was just as bad, if not worse. A fake solar god, not the real solar being, a fake one. And they gained all this technology and all these powers to transform. And the people thought it was magic when it's all technology. So the breaking of the chains to me is a significant event. And what the future holds is entirely up to us now. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to be absolutely fantastic and love and light and peace for 1,000 years and abundance. Because there's too many who don't wish that, who don't believe in that. And this is where the education of the people of the planet needs to come in, where we have to educate them that is a better way of living, that the Africans don't have to war permanently, with much interference I might add, that the people of the Middle East don't have to war permanently, that the white race people don't have to go plundering permanently, that the tribal people don't have to play the white Western world corruption game, that the Asian people don't have to be playing the same Western corruption game with brutality gangs of the Yakuza. All those people have to be educated into a better way of being, a new humanity, a new chance, a chance to grow. We can't stay children for the rest of our lives. We can't remain children on this planet indefinitely either. If a species is not growing on a planet, the planet will throw it off. We were very close to that 4 years ago. But sufficient people showed sufficient proof that there was a better way and decided we're going to fight for this and lay out a new blueprint for a new future. On January the 1st, 2013, the Looking Glass tech went blank. Why? Because we hadn't created our future yet. What future are we going to create? Are we going to create divide and conquer, anger, greed, jealousy, envy? Or a better future of fair, transparent, personal responsibility and a collective responsibility not only for themselves and people around it, but also to the planet? Are we going to continue to consume in the manner that we have done, where we've not only raped and pillaged the people, we've raped and pillaged the planet also? We need to clean up our act. And it's up to every single person who listens to this show and the alternative media to drive people towards that better future. Everyone has a role. Everyone has a say. Everyone has an opinion. Not the few anymore. They might think they do. They just don't. Because when the collective stand up and say, we've made our choice, we want a better planet, a fairer planet, we want to live in harmony with all people, in fact all life here, then those clans who like to divide and conquer will fade into the ether. Because they are the illusion that all of us have created. The 100 series, the City of Light, where we took the pill, no pain, no trauma, no responsibility. This is what we got. It's not pleasant, is it? So we're now going through the pain and the trauma and learning, hopefully, to deal with it, to process it, to move forward with it, to let it go. Learn. Mistakes will be made. Mistakes are fine, as they're a learning opportunity. The stupidity is repeating the same thing over and over again and watching it fail. Like the clowns in the second hour. Prosper and grow, or continue to be harvested in all its various guises. That's our choice going forward. That's what happened with the chain breaking. Free at last. But if we keep believing there's prison walls around us, it doesn't matter whether the chain's broke or not, does it? So, the old earth is gone. And I likened it today to people who have had very poor parents who have been violent and abusive, and then the parent dies. There's still sadness because they've gone, even though they didn't treat you too well. And the same applies with what I saw. So, tonight's been a heavy show. Heavy hearts. I'm going to play another song, and then we'll probably another 10-15 minutes of answering questions before we wrap up the show. Perhaps this is appropriate. Hi all, and welcome back to the final portion of tonight's show. So it's up to us now. In essence, transcendence is already here. New Earth is already here. The frequency towards the organic is already here. The key for everyone else is to break free of your own chains. Only you hold that key, nobody else. It could well be that that vision was symbolic to me. I took it as the collective. But each and every person has to break the chain from the inorganic, illusory, holographic construct system into the organic reality. So I hope you take that on board. So for those who have been heavy-hearted since that day, that's why. Out with the old and in with the new. Are the stasis beings which are believed to be connected to persons of power mentioned by the UPU still in existence? I don't recall them mentioning. I think you might be getting mixed up. It was Shane that mentioned the stasis beings. I could be wrong. Some of them are still here. Some of them have left. They've been asleep for a long time. Some of them are beneficial and some of them are not. The ones that woke up couldn't handle the new frequency. It has changed drastically since their time. This is why some of the parents are struggling again with the new frequencies coming in. A wave that's been coming in since 2002 in varying degrees. They can't handle the frequency. And this is, I kind of went off track on the last piece when I was talking about space and time with the Levashov stuff. You can't have two things operating in the same space. So you can't have two planets in the same space. Both would implode on each other. So the vision showed the changes of the old Earth leaving and the new one arriving. It will sit in the same space that the old one left. So, where are we next? You gave a definition of what sovereignty entails, and that sovereignty is lost if one sovereign attacks another. Is that a cosmic law code? Yes, natural law. And if so, would that not mean that some ET groups have lost their sovereignty and are now subject to someone else, and who would they be subject to? Well, the cleanup has not just been here, it's been universe-wide. The dark, as pointed out again in the, I think it was the Humanity Unplugged show, part 1, seem to think that they are above any sort of natural or universal law. That has been the issue with this particular universe. It went, from what I know, 87% dark, when it really needs to be, like I mentioned earlier, 50-50, 45-55, either way. But there's a balance. You can't just get rid of all the dark, and the dark can't just get rid of all the light either. So there's been a lot of beings throughout this galaxy and beyond who've all been lied to, right down the line. And many of them are striving to correct some of that. Some of them, like some of the psychopathic humans here, will continue. But eventually the rest will rise up against them and crush them, micro to macro. So sovereignty, as I explained earlier in the last hour, has a lot of implications for America itself. More funds can be released for the people, regardless of our trust accounts. That we're not spending all our tax dollars on death and destruction, or surveillance, or foreign bases. I would love to know what we spend per year, this country, on things that are covered to do with the sovereignty. It must be a ridiculous amount. Trillions per year to feed foreign entities. And foreign not just in countries either, foreign as in outside of here. A lot of that has not yet been revealed, the depth of it. So yes, I hope the council will address some of their issues. I believe they are. I know certain groups are trying to fix their mess here. Some of them sent representatives to fix the mess here, but some of those representatives have gone rogue also, or been taken off track, or been switched out. Those of you that follow the Facebook page, you'll know what I'm referring to on the last one. Is the information regarding intense recent battles to remove all underground beings in the earth realm accurate? The one I heard in particular is a 4-year loop memory. That was done in 2013. So you know what I'm referring to. This didn't say it didn't exist, it didn't happen, but it's a 4-year loop memory, because that particular underground was attacked in 2013 and emptied, like Area 51 was also attacked in 2013 and emptied. Some of them fled to join others under Mount Shyster, and others fled to Dugway. Now what I can say about Dugway is the resonance from there is a lot better than it was previously. I don't have full facts whether that has been emptied also. That remains to be seen. What I do know is the people humanoid type beings on Vancouver Island that were messing with the Hollywood of Canada with their mind control and ritual sacrifice and all kinds of other skullduggery have also recently been dealt with. So there's an ongoing thing, but that one took place in 2013. The question you're asking: is there any association between this new 5G network and a Saturn matrix? No. Saturn matrix was dealt with in September of 2015. Saturn matrix was dealt with, along with the moon portion, which was a month earlier. The 5G, from what I gather, I haven't done in-depth study on it. I don't think it's particularly good. It's a higher level hooking into the AI, psychopathic, disintegrating, failing network system. I don't think it will have the impact they thought it would. In fact, just maybe it might not have any impact at all, but that doesn't mean to say we're not going to monitor it, what they're doing, because we will, and we will deal with it accordingly. How big and how many are the underground communities? I don't know the answer to either of those questions. It's fairly extensive right across this planet, or certainly was. How many are left, I don't know. But there was a number of regions. Virtually the whole of the southwest of America was overpopulated with them, right down the west coast. South America down the west coast was also populated with certain entities. You had the reptilian base in Kashmir, the Dorsey base in the Swiss Alps, little gremlins, and the greys dotted all over the place. And then you've got the Area 51s and the Pine Gaps, and a whole plethora of entities that have been in Africa playing games. Of course, we had the war there back in 1996, if memory serves me correctly. They were going to bring all kinds in, but they largely were prevented from doing so. Is it similar to the idea of Agartha? If so, is Agartha real? It would appear to be. I couldn't nail it 100%. I can't say I have visited there. So what I do know is there's a lot of the beings down there have no compassion or empathy for humans. Most of them think we're stupid savages. They don't have a very high opinion of us. So the idea that a whole plethora of them are all love and light, well, you've got to remember, as some of these beings came from below our feet and presented themselves as gods in the past. I don't think that worked too well for humanity, did it? How many different beings live there, and who are they? No idea. What is exactly going on underneath Mount Shasta? A lot of what you really wouldn't like to know, to put it bluntly. That's why I am not fond of people celebrate in that region. If you knew, go anywhere near it. And yet we have certain so-called popular individuals doing conferences there. Fitting, if you ask me. Dark goes to dark. What is your opinion on what's under the Bukegi Mountains? Now that I have seen. There's a huge dome and array of screens around it with desks in a circular fashion that have holographic projection screens, and there are 3 tunnels. Remember, this is in Romania, and it goes to Africa, it goes to Tibet, and goes to Egypt. We didn't build it, so who did? And this is something in the future we'll find out, that there's more miles of tunnels below our feet than there is roads on the surface. Remember the 100 series where they went underground into the bunker to, was it the acid rain and the nuclear fallout? Some of them have been here a long time. Some of them developed rather well, and some of them misused that technology. And this is where we have to be careful going forward, that we don't fall into the same trap. At the moment, we're too reliant on technology. Way too reliant. Yes, it may be convenience, but that convenience is going to cost us unless we address it. Oh, we need this, we need that. We have to get that stupid Alexa machine to tell you what the weather's like outside. Go and stand outside. Or what's on the channel, this channel and that channel. It's drivel. Interacting with robots, and people don't see the agenda. The fact that that machine can record everything you're saying, whether it's switched on or off, is lost on people. We have to use technology in a better way, and I would like to see a full-on assessment team, multi-disciplined assessment team of all technology that we've got, both our own and those we've received. Yes, you, military. Is it beneficial to humanity? Yes or no? It's quite simple, really. There's no grey areas. There can't be. If it's no, then we should trash it. All of it. So ultimately we'll go down the same path as the Atlanteans and destroy themselves, fighting wars with clever technology, except it's not clever, it's stupid. So the Bukegi Mountains in Romania also has a sphinx. Yes, there are 2 that guards it. The cat guarding the mountain. A lot of mountains on this planet, particularly the volcanoes, are portals. So that's the portion I'm aware of in per keggy. There's certain technology in there that's way beyond our understanding, and if you mess with it, people die, as certain American soldiers found out. Can you please interview Shane the Ruler again? I love listening to both you speak and conversations you have. Shane 13 minutes ago sent me a message on Skype saying apparently we need to do a recorded chat soon again. People keep asking me, and I'm sure they've asked you as well. Let's try to plan something. So there you have it. I have 1.25 pages ready for a Shane show, so I have prepared in advance. Well, he's rather busy, even though he's not on the internet that much. He's busy with a lot of things, and of course I'm not exactly idle myself at this time, so we'll see how it goes. But maybe we'll have one before the end of this month, and we'll see how that goes. Where are we for time? Maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Drake is calling for Americans to take up arms if revolution comes. Last month I got rid of my gun, not wanting to harm another. That's a good choice. There isn't certain people on this planet who are not here to kill others. There are certain ones that are. It's all about the balance again, isn't it? Peace or violence. But Drake's been told we've largely brought down the control system without using violence. You just have to be clever. Now, I think there will be some sort of, and again it's just my opinion, there'll be some sort of mini coup, if you like, but eventually all the clowns in the military will start to see through the illusion that they've all been fed, and at the final hour will do the right thing. You can all say you have to follow orders because you're in the military. No, you don't, if it's not right. Maybe that's just me. Like I said, I'm anti-authority unless it's the right sort of guidance. But if people keep telling you to go and kill other people 6,000 miles away and they haven't attacked you, you have to start thinking for yourself, not following orders. The sons and daughters in the military, you're putting your life at risk, not for your country. Not a single war in this country that's been involved in has been anything to do with America's freedoms, including the bogus Civil War. It all had an agenda. The wars with Britain, it's an illusion. Yes, your history will tell you different, and America came through and triumphed. And then a week later, Britain sent the new tax tariff. 2 weeks after, 19th of July 1776, Britain sent the new tax tariff to allegedly independent America. So nothing changed, did they? If America had really pushed the Brits out, why would we still be paying taxes to them as a tribute to the bloody crown? So the generals, the non-corrupt ones, have to do their duty, what they're paid for, protect this country and its people. There should be no reason for we the people to take up arms. It just needs them to do their job. That's what they're paid to do, and it's about time they started doing it for the people. So I don't agree with Drake on that. It's not our role to take up arms. They're paid to protect this country and its people. And I think the top end will likely have some sort of a shootout, but I don't expect it to play in a public arena. But like Gandhi said, the Indian people didn't take up arms against the British and the Dutch. They just didn't comply. We're not doing your jobs. And they all walked out en masse. That's all it takes. You can end whole empires by the people just going, we're not playing your game anymore. We're not giving US Inc. military $600 billion to fight wars and collect resources for other people that have nothing to do with the people. I would cut the budget. If it was up to me, I would cut the American military budget to zero overnight. Then let's see how they negotiate. Because it rankles with me that we're giving them 600 billion each year, and we will get a single dime in benefit from it. But if you don't feel, to the person who asked the question, that you want to shoot somebody else dead, then you have that right to do so. Not everyone is here to kill people. Thankfully, the vast majority are not here to kill people. And asking somebody else to do it for you, like they've done with our sons and daughters in the military, sickens me. Because war would end overnight if each government and the top brass generals were sent into war and we the people sat back and watched it. War would end overnight, wouldn't it? Because these people are cowards. As the song War Pigs said, politicians hide themselves away, they only started the war. Why should they go out to fight? They leave that all for the poor. No, if you want to go and fight with people in Syria, send all the politicians, send all the generals on their own. Let's see how far they get. And we the people just let them go. we'll replace them with people of peace, real teachers of how we go forward, not in violence. Violence has not achieved anything. They've been fighting wars out in the stars for millions and billions of years. It didn't achieve anything. It never did. And the directive by the council on certain people who took part in meetings was, let's try something different. Instead of fighting each other, let's apply peace. There's plenty of room, there's plenty of resources for everybody. There's a whole wide universe out there. Why do we have to fight? Why have we got 24 races or species fighting over one planet? That doesn't belong to them. It belongs to us, whether they like that idea or not. So you don't feel bad in not wanting to harm another, because nobody should be really put in that position. I can't imagine what soldiers go through, pointing a gun at someone and taking their life away. Personally, I wouldn't do it. And people can call me a coward or whatever. I don't really care. Unless it was a self-defense last resort. But the idea of just blowing somebody away for their wallet or to steal their car, and to just have that complete disregard for life, I don't comprehend. Never have done. I don't think trouble will come calling to the people. I don't think we will need to protect ourselves. I think at the end of the day, some sanity may be restored. How close are we to the event? Which event? Maybe they've already happened. Are there any plans for another UPU show? Not currently, but you never know. If suddenly they feel they need to step forward again, I don't know. The last show was organised within 48 hours, so come next Tuesday you might tell me you want to come on next Thursday, so I don't know. We'll see. Of course, time's different up there, as you know. Right, that's the end of another show. There's a lot more than that than I thought there would be. It's strange times. Times of heavy-heartedness. Times of releasing and letting go. Time to be the change. Time to think within, not outside of yourself. And time to look forward to a better future. It will come eventually. I'm not giving timelines. In this new paradigm, it may happen very, very quickly. But I'm not building people's hopes up. We've had been enough letdowns. But enough changes have been made on a micro scale and the macro scale, which suggests we will see the brighter future sooner rather than later. I'm going to say something now I've said before. But it was something that the ETs that crashed said, and some of you liked it last time. I think it kind of plays into the now, and their ideal is they just try to accept we are in paradise when we are seeing and understanding something new, i.e. no fear. Our God, G-O-D, should be change. Our religion should be understanding. And searching for truth is our greatest social challenge and purpose. That's the ideals that particular race live by. That's what we need to all seek and work hard and diligently towards. I hope you've enjoyed this show. I hope everyone's heaviness lightens a bit. I hope we all get major change quickly. I know many of us are tired, and the stupidity on top of the tiredness pushes patience to the limit, but we have to keep going, and we will, and eventually we will prevail. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. I'll be back on Sunday with the OYM lads. I've no idea what we're going to be talking about. There's that many topics. I'll leave that up to them. So it's like a nice, easy show for me. I don't have to prepare for it. I just turn up and chatter as normal. Anyway, bye for now. Remember, you're the voice, not just me.